Okay, so welcome to everybody. I think all the participants are in and we can start. First of all, thank you for joining. Thank you for your interest in this webinar. For the next hour, we will have the fifth webinar of the Mobilog series, in which, one second, I think you can see my screen. Yeah, in which, as part of the collaboration between GIZ, GUMIL, and all, Deloitte and CERT, we, for us, this is our third webinar. We will talk about living labs, or how living labs can help cities in transforming, in accepting this innovation. So today is our third webinar of our participation in the full series. Sorry. And it's about mobility living labs. So the first one was about mobility challenges, how the living labs can help in these challenges, and how we should help cities in transitioning to innovation. The second one was about theoretical concepts about living labs, about the methodology, the background around living labs. So today we are making more concrete. We are putting the domain to the living lab discussion, and we are talking about mobility living labs more concretely. So before the start, my colleague Maria will help us. We have very few questions. We will have 3 sections in our presentation, and after each section, we will have 1 or 2 questions. These are the warm-up questions, a little bit to get to know each other and to break the ice before starting. So you can scan this QR code, you can use the link, or you can use the code on the Mentimeter to ask these 2 questions, and then I will stop sharing, Maria, so you can share the results from the Mentimeter, okay?
Yes, thank you, Joseph. Okay, I hope you can see the results of the Mentimeter. Okay, I can see we have just 2 answers, but there are more people in the call. So please, if anyone has any issue with the Mentimeter, the QR code, please let us know.
These are the warm-up questions, so it's okay. But please open the Mentimeter, put the code. So for the next sections, which are more important questions, we would like to have more participation. So the first question is, have you ever been to Thessaloniki? The answer is no. It's something we expect because we are a small city in a small country. Let's go to the next question, maybe, Maria. I suggest not losing a lot of time in these questions because the interesting part is the content of the webinar itself. The second question is about the Thessaloniki Smart Mobility Living Lab. It's probably you heard about us as part of this initiative with GUMIL and with GIZ. So I will give a few seconds to know if you are familiar with us. I see somehow positive that you are not, because this means that you have not been in the previous webinar or you have not been on the physical training. So the material that we will present, it will be new to you and it will be more valuable probably.
Or maybe
okay,
we need to enhance our communication strategies.
No, it's okay. It's it would be great if the answer would be yes, I have heard about it before the webinars. I do not expect anyone answering to this site. Okay, I think, Maria, we can go to the content because it's already it's already 7 minutes that we started. So let's go to the interesting content. I think that there are no more questions, right, for the first part?
Yes, I think the other are for the next part.
Okay, so I will continue sharing. I will share my screen so we can continue with the presentation. 1 second. So today we plan to have 3 presenters. Dr. Joseph Ayfantopoulou, myself, Jose Maria Salanova, and Maria Constantinidou. Georgia, unfortunately, now she's going to the municipality. We have an urgent meeting. She has an urgent meeting with the mayor, so she will not be able to connect and to talk. So it will be me and Maria doing our sections, but also covering the one from Georgia. So the questions no, sorry. Yeah, get to know questions. Again, we will give 2 minutes to these questions. It's important for us to know who are you. If you are aware or not about the Living Labs, if you are working or not on the Living Lab wall. So Maria, again, I will give you the screen to see the Mentimeter.
Okay, so we have someone who is the first time that hearing about Living Labs, but most of you have either worked or know what Living Labs are. So
Okay, it's interesting. Indeed, most of you are aware of it, but none of you have worked with Living Labs. So I think the material we're presenting will be very interesting. Next question, Maria. Okay, so the next question is about the domain. Uh, it's about if you are working on mobility or not. So I see that most of the participants are working in mobility, mostly from the private side, in the sense that you are a service provider or you are operating a transport fleet. But still, some of you are not working in mobility. Okay, Maria, do you have more questions, or this was the last one for this part? Okay, one more. This question is about the previous webinars. So many of you are new, but some of you have participated. In any case, the material we're presenting in the physical meetings and the webinars is quite similar, but the material in the webinars alone is not repeating. So if you were in the previous webinars, what you will see today is a continuation of the material. Okay, Maria, I think it's okay. We can start with
I
the
think the last
presentation.
question is
Okay?
about the training, the on-site training in Delhi.
Yeah.
So if we
Was
have
anyone
any
of you in Delhi?
participant. Okay, so we have just one participant that was also in Delhi in the on-site training, and 9 that didn't participate. So a lot of new things to hear today. Okay, yes, I think we can start now with the important thing of the presentation.
Okay, so then the first one will be Maria. I will just do the first slide of Maria's section. Let me share the screen again. Okay, so these are the three sections. Section one is about how mobility living labs can address the mobility challenges. Maria will talk about the value proposition of the living labs. You should see how these infrastructures can be used to address the challenges of mobility in your cities and not only mobility. Then I will tell you about best practices and lessons learned from various mobility living labs in Europe and the importance of data in the mobility ecosystem. And finally, me and Maria will jointly present you how to manage this mobility ecosystem, the transition of this ecosystem from going from projects to the living lab creation and then the living lab operation in your city, in your area, in your region. So first, it will be Maria. This was the last slide of the first webinar, in which after presenting the challenges, presenting how living labs can help cities in overcoming these challenges, this was a kind of summary. So we have the society, who is the owner of the problem. The problem we're facing is about how society is moving in the city, is satisfying a need for mobility. This is a multi-actor approach that we need to follow to solve the problem. We have many actors. The citizens are the owners, but we have operators, we have the city authorities, we have the companies, we have many actors. And so we should use an approach of multi-actor. So we see the whole view. We are in the digital era and literacy. So it's not only that we have digital means, but most of the population can use these means. So this facilitates a lot. This digitalization is speeding up what we do. We need the cities to lead innovation. We are living in a world where innovation is quite private sector driven. So the companies are driving the innovation. We need the cities to lead this innovation, to be more social, to be more acceptable, and to be more in line with the city vision and roadmap. So we expect cities to drive this transition. And finally, the vision is zero cities, zero accidents, zero pollutions, zero congestions. So we should have more livable and healthy cities. So I give you the floor, Maria, for the next slides.
Okay, thanks, Joseph, for the introduction. Okay, so what the mobility living labs can offer and how they can integrate it in the whole ecosystem. So one of the main assets of the mobility living labs is that they create synergies with the whole mobility ecosystem and the citizens. So the living labs put in the core the mobility related ecosystem and the citizens in order to provide to them access to more efficient services and in general to enhance the quality of daily life. So within the mobility ecosystem, new collaborations are fostered, but not only just on mobility, but although it is a mobility living lab, they foster the transdisciplinary approach. So in the mobility living labs, they develop different synergies with different sectors, not just mobility. Secondly, the mobility living labs offer a real-world testing ground for innovative mobility solutions. So they capture impact and propose, in general, impact generalization pathways. In fact, what the mobility living labs do before co-create with the ecosystem the mobility solution is that they help to create a common understanding. Different actors are gathering together, and they acquire a common understanding on the different problems in the society and how they can act all together in order to co-create the most suitable mobility solutions. The mobility living labs also take up new solutions and generalize the impact, so to be able to accelerate the transformation towards a more green and resilient environment. So in the mobility living labs, the top-down and bottom-up approaches are combined in order to integrate not only the strategy and the objectives of the regional or local strategies, but also the needs of the ecosystem. Next slide. Joseph, can we move to next slide? I don't know if something goes wrong with my. Okay. No, the previous one. Okay. Until now, what we are used to do is that we use the industry-led innovation, because the industry-led innovation is more speedy, and it is quicker adopted by the society. However, when it is adopted, might have some side effects that the city and the regions authority do not expect and are not prepared to manage. So what we need to do now is to find the right balance between the industry-led innovation and the region or the city-led innovation, because this right balance is the one that put the region or city-led innovation in the core of the decision-making process. So when we follow this balance between the industry-led innovation and the city-led innovation, we provide the mobility living labs provide to cities the knowledge to prepare the right conditions for embracing the innovation, and also to prepare the right arguments for the society and for the industry for a fair involvement. Also, the mobility living labs strengthen the ecosystem capacity to manage the change by offering different kind of tools and helping the ecosystem to achieve a common understanding of challenges, and also to create a cross-sectorial osmosis for easy and correct decision making. And also the mobility living labs provide to cities or regions the capacity for developing synergies and for developing the right policies that will stimulate and generalize innovative solutions for maximizing the impact of innovation. Next slide. Okay, these are some bullets what the mobility living labs should at least have. So the first step is an initiator that will develop some initial objectives at the very early stage that will be then shared with the ecosystem and adjusted. So the second step is to attract the ecosystem, so to find the most relevant stakeholders and to create a common understanding on the challenges of the mobility ecosystem, and co-create with them the first, let's say, the short-term vision. A neutral partner is important to exist in a mobility living lab because it is the one that can lead or facilitate the decision making process and have the trust from both the governmental parties, but also for the private or public sector and from the citizens. At this stage, the mobility living labs have also to map the stakeholders' expectation and needs, and to find what is the role of each stakeholder. Also to find what are the veto players that maybe hinder the process in the following step. It is important to create a value proposition for each specific group of stakeholders for keeping them engaged during the whole process. The mobility living labs offer, as I said before, different tools for mobility challenges and for decision making. The collaboration is an important aspect of the mobility living labs. Also, it is needed to have an action plan and to clarify what are the roles, the duties, and the responsibilities of the different stakeholders that participate in the living lab. And also, last but not least, to have a clear mission that can be communicated to society and public and private sectors. Next slide. So the living labs, the mobility living labs, should mainly follow the open innovation community process, which facilitate debate generation and consensus building, validate different results of the co-create innovative solutions, and adopt also the approach of communities of practice in order to enhance and transfer the different findings, innovative findings, to the ecosystem. So the main point, the main, let's say, benefit of this open innovation community process approach is that gather all the stakeholders from the quadruple helix, so the community, the local practitioners, the policymakers, the public and the private sector, and invite them to be involved in the decision-making process and the creation of the solutions, the mobility solutions. Next slide. Here you can see, let's say, a figure of how the 4 steps of the open innovation process have been adjusted to mobility. So in the first step is called strengthening mobility innovation, and here is where the capacities of the local ecosystem should be consumed in order to create common knowledge and understanding of the problems to be solved. The second step is about gearing mobility innovation. Here we can learn from external innovators, so what the innovators outside of our ecosystem achieved, and use this knowledge in order to increase the capacity of our local ecosystem. The third step is about accelerating innovation. So through collaboration in innovative solutions, the mobility living labs develop and demonstrate innovative solution and alleviate different barriers in the society. And the last step is about integrating innovation. So after the implementation of the different solution, let's say the goal is to secure that we have a successful policy response to a society problem in order to maximize the impact and achieve the full adoption by the citizens. Next slide. This is how we follow the 4 steps of the Open Innovation Community in our living lab, so in the Thessaloniki Smart Mobility Living Lab. So in the first step, we start the collaboration with a local transport operator, the Taxi Association of Thessaloniki. So we start using some data from them and start creating some added value services for the taxi association. Then in the second step, we were searching for more stakeholders from the ecosystem. We start creating new tools with them. We try to invite more stakeholders from the public and private sector to be engaged in our mobility living lab. And here is the step that we joined the European Network of Living Labs. Then in the third step, the Living Lab extended our activities. So the Innovation Hub of EIT Urban Mobility in Greece was created. There we achieved to have recognized mobility and city logistic ecosystem. We created the first national cluster on collaborative products in mobility with the participation of 35 Greek companies. A competence center was created. We participate in different tenders for smart mobility, and we managed uh, to to raise funding from different sources. In the last step, so integrating innovation, we collaborate. We are collaborating with the municipality of Thessaloniki in the development of Thessaloniki Climate Neutral City Action Plan. We extend more our services, so we start adopting also other solutions, integrating AI technologies. Also, a new concept is the transition living lab to climate neutrality. So this transition living lab is a concept that start creating in a European project and follows a more cross-sectorial approach. And also in this step, the mobility innovation mega project of the technology park that we will explain to you later will be performed. Next step. Okay, here are some of the objectives of the Mobility Living Labs, which are also part of the vision. So the Mobility Living Labs promote the excellence in research, increase the competitiveness of industry, support the local ecosystem, as I mentioned a lot of times before, and promote an open innovation approach, as we saw in the two previous slides, for providing new and innovative mobility solutions. The Mobility Living Labs attract and should attract funds and investment for the local ecosystem. The main goal is to improve the mobility conditions for the city, for the stakeholders, and for the citizens, to create added value for the local ecosystem, and in order to keep the stakeholders engaged throughout the process, to create the knowledge and to prepare the right conditions in the ecosystem for embracing the innovation, strengthen the capacity for developing mobility synergies, support local authorities in decision and policy making, and also help the local authorities in the efficient monitoring of the solution in order to achieve a resilient urban environment. Also, in the objective, the mobility living labs focus on alleviating one or more of the recognized mobility challenges. These challenges have to do with the availability, the accessibility, the affordability, the time, and the adequacy of the mobility services. Next slide. And also, here are some of the roles that the mobility living labs can undertake in the ecosystem. So as innovation enablers, the mobility living labs can provide a supportive ecosystem for testing and scaling up innovative solutions. So they connect all the parties of the quadruple helix and foster collaboration and knowledge exchange. And also in this collaborative space, the stakeholders have the opportunity to design and test different strategies. So the mobility living labs can also be changers of urban mobility landscape. One prominent example of their impact is in the development and implementation of the sustainable urban mobility plans. So by engaging different stakeholders in the planning process of the sustainable urban mobility plans, ensure that these plans reflect the needs and priorities of the community, and they can lead to more effective and sustainable transportation solutions. Additionally, the mobility living labs can play a crucial role in efficiently monitoring the transport system, and can be served as mobility observatories. So they collect, monitor, and analyze different kind of mobility data and generate knowledge about mobility patterns, about the dynamics in general of urban mobility. So the mobility living labs can translate data into knowledge and provide useful insights for mobility trends, patterns, and user behaviors. And with this way, can enable stakeholders to make more informed, more data and evidence-based decisions for proactively addressing emerging challenges in mobility. By facilitating the dialogue and collaboration among the stakeholders, the mobility living labs can contribute to the creation of a common understanding of the mobility problems and solutions, and build a consensus around shared mobility goals and vision. And also the mobility living labs can function as planning enablers by providing a collaborative space for mobility-related stakeholders, test, refine different ideas and mobility solutions, also to co-create services and test them in real-world settings before scaling them up for broader implementation. Also, they can be used as powerful tools for addressing the mobility challenges, and they can also serve as transition accelerators as they help the communities to accelerate towards a more sustainable transportation system. These are some of the roles that the mobility living labs can play, but they can play more. Okay, this was the first part of the presentation. I don't know. I think we have a Q&A section at the end, so.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. If there is any very fast question, if not, we're trying to have 10 minutes at the end for questions. If there is something fast and quick, we can do it now by anyone. Okay, then we will proceed. Maria, let's try to go fast through this second set of questions.
Yes.
Your section.
Okay. Okay. I think this is the question. Do you see a strong value proposition of mobility living labs to solve societal challenges?
You should share the screen, Maria.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay, only one question to one answer to answers. Based on these two answers, we are happy that you see the value proposition, and we understand that you see the difficult implementation. And then let's go to the next question, Maria, maybe.
Are you using mobility living labs to solve mobility challenges?
Okay, I would say this is good because we hope that after this series of webinars, you will be interested in using living labs to solve the challenges. So I understand that you are familiar with living labs, but you have not worked with them, so you are not applying them. And I think it's a good case for you then to use mobility living labs to solve your challenges. Okay, I can share the screen, Maria, and we can continue.
Yes.
So this part of the presentation, 1 second, is about best practices and the importance of data. So this material, part of it is coming from the mobility working group at ENOL, where we have 3 co-leaders, the JRC, which is a research center from the European Commission, Austriatech, which is part of the Austrian ministry and is hosting different living labs, and CERTH, ourselves, who are the mobility, Thessaloniki Smart Mobility Living Lab. Within our working group, we have 2 kind of participants. You can see the clusters in blue and in this dark red. So you have universities and research center offering professionals to support policy making. This is one kind of living lab participants. The second kind is living lab as such. So the entities that acknowledge them as living labs or representatives of living labs, which focus on citizen science, offering services and infrastructure to test new solutions. So you see the 2 approaches. One partner who support policy and an ecosystem with the citizen science, the citizen support, supporting services, development, technological solutions, and everything. So these are the 2 kind of participants in the working group. Austria is supporting 6 living labs in the country for the last years, and they have went to the phase of assessing, okay, we were supporting you for 1 year, you did some projects, what are the results? I will present you 2 results. The first one is the transfer of knowledge, meaning that they understood that it's hard for administration and mobility planning institutions to be up to date into the state of the art of mobility. So being part of a living lab, it facilitates the public sector to be updated on the trends, on the new technologies, because this quadruple helix will keep them updated and informed about where are we going, what are the new technologies, what is beyond the state of the art. So we will be a front runners in what we do. Second lesson learned is that living labs are capable of doing everything. So it's very important to keep a good communication between the living labs. All of them should communicate, And it's not about telling what we have in common. It's about telling what are our particularities, our differences. So the strategy, having this dynamic and up-to-date communication between the living labs is important, because if not, being self-sustainable, they will kind of be on a silo doing what they do. So we should keep them interacting. And not is about it. It's about a network of living labs discussing, working together, having working groups, having interest groups. So this communication is crucial. Then the JRC. JRC is a research center from the European Commission, and they started an initiative in which they were giving living lab as a set. They say, I have my facilities, I have my people in working in my area, and I will give you the capability of testing solutions. So bring me your robot, bring me your drone, bring me your application. I will put you in contact with the users. I will allow you to work within my installations, and you can test it with real users and have real feedback. What they learn from it is that it's key to engage users. They should be engaged from day zero. They should be engaged through the whole set of activities. They should follow the whole set of activities. And doing the real life experiments is about hands-on experience. So it's not about presentations. It's not about theoretical discussions. It's about hands-on experience. Let them feel the service. Let them test it. Let them give feedback. It's also about being resilient, because we are facing many problems, and as a living lab, we are able to solve them because we are an ecosystem. So it's not one institute, one university. It's the whole ecosystem. So the public, private, third parties, academy, research is there. So this is giving resilience to what we do. Then it's about the data. You collect data. So don't wait to assess the data and see the results, but monitor the data. The data should be realistic. The data is telling you that something is wrong, something is not going as planned. So use this data monitoring to see that everything is realistic and that you are going to the right direction. Maria, can you mute, please? And then it's important to align the values of the stakeholders. If we're having this, the members of the ecosystem participating, and we should understand the values, the needs, expectations, and to align all this. Then it's us, Smart Mobility Living Lab. We have 4 pillars. Maria told you about the data to knowledge, extracting value from the data, the resources. We will talk about competence center, decision theaters. It's about facilitating innovation, the transition to the innovation, and then it's about social innovation. How we reach our today's situation? We started with a strong research infrastructure and virtual testbed. We had our sensors in the city, our hardware, but we had also our models and simulation. We moved to a city physical test bed supporting private and public sectors. We understood that the city is our laboratory. Then we moved to a regional open innovation ecosystem management. Once we understood that the city was our lab, then the members of this lab are the actors in the city. And we went to the regional level. This is important because it's not only about the city, but it's about the region around this city. And today we are supporting systemic changes. So we are about the system, not only mobility, energy, environment. So we need to change systematically, multi-domain, and this can happen through innovation and digitalization. Then open data, or data in general. It's very important and it's crucial to have data, to control the data, to monitor the data. There are many obstacles to share the data. This means that today the data is being deposited into non-accessible units, personal laptops, personal computers, non-open data databases, and everything. This happens because there are barriers, legal, ethical barriers, lack of funding, data quality. My data is not of good quality to be shared, for example, technical barriers, ownership, incentives. Why should I share my data? All these barriers do not allow us to receive the benefits. With open data, we have more transparency, accountability of what we do. We have improved decision-making, more innovation, more efficiency. Open data is accessible to everyone. Anyone can use it for being more efficient. A fleet manager, a small company, even university students, citizens. This will bring us economic growth, better public services, and having the citizen science and access to the data by the citizens, we will be empowered to be part of the solution creation. This will facilitate the scale up. They will use the solutions. There are challenges into it. It's about trust. It's about motivation. It's about what happened with my data. So what is the life cycle management of the data, human factors, access to the data, who can access the data, security, cybersecurity, quality, volume and velocity. We have a lot of data, so it's not just to open it. We should support it is the open data. Standards, interoperability, GDPR is our the data protection regulation in Europe, which is putting a lot of problems into sharing data if there is any kind of personal data within it, and the regulation. If we can overcome all these challenges, the Living Labs can work a lot on this data. Living Labs can be, as Maria said, a neutral partner. They can aggregate the data, so they can anonymize the data. They can facilitate this data to be open, and then they can facilitate the availability of this data. We are in Thessaloniki, we have our open data portal where we are giving most of the data sets as open data. And we're having a cluster for transport and logistics where we manage these companies, at least between them, to share the data, if not to make it open. We are also helping startups. Our spin-off was awarded from the EIT on innovation, and it's about data, about traffic management using this data from all the actors in the city. We are also supporting within the cluster that I just mentioned, supporting the development and improvement of products and services from these companies. We are moving from this living lab that we started in our city to the regional scale up. We are coordinating the risk hub from the EIT in urban mobility. The EIT in urban mobility is supporting small companies to create and innovate, and we are coordinating the Greek ecosystem of companies being supported by the EIT, which is the European supporting of Innovation and Technology Institute. We are coaching startups in our regional innovation activities, and then we are supporting also the building the competence of the members of the ecosystem, so they will have economic growth and more capabilities. So this is the second part. Maria, very fast to the question, please. So first question is if you have worked with Living Labs, if in that case, if do you share what we have presented? But I think that most of you have not worked with Living Labs, so maybe this question is not so much relevant. Let's give 10 seconds, and if there is no answers, we'll go to the next one, Maria. Okay, Maria, next question. Do you provide open data? You can answer this question. Are you giving open data to your community as part of a project, as part of your daily work? It's on your duties, it's on your activities to give open data. I see only one question, which says that the data is not open. And this is the status quo. Very few open data sets are available. It's still one important barrier to face. Okay, Maria, I can take back the screen and let's go to the last section. So this last section, it's about managing the mobility ecosystem transition, meaning that from projects, how we can get to mobility living labs running and operating. Maria, you can say the slides and I will continue.
Yes, I will try to be quick. So in one of the previous questions of Medimeter about the added value of living labs, you answered that you see the added value, but the collaborative approach is difficult. And indeed, this is one of the main challenges that the living labs face. So how we put all the stakeholders in the same table and discuss and co-create mobility solutions. So the living labs should have efforts on minimizing the conflicts that may arise from the different goals that the stakeholders have in their agenda, and to manage these potential conflicts that may arise. There are some efficient and fair conflict resolution mechanisms that the living labs can use and should be used in order to harmonize the stakeholders' objectives, to help them identify some shared goals and align the different actions in order to achieve a sustainable and more inclusive operation of the living lab. So what we should achieve is this green part, so collaboration between the different stakeholders.
Okay, thank you, Maria. So how we can do this transition from projects to living labs? We need these two parallel streams. So it's about building a coalition of stakeholders and engaging these stakeholders into what you do. So it's not about having them informed, but having them on board. Second, you should keep the alignment between the trends, what you do in the technology, and the needs of the ecosystem. So you should keep this coalition discussing, providing you needs, expectations. And then, first of all, you need to assess the readiness of your city to be to innovate. Once you have assessed this readiness, you can define the mission of the living lab and see that it is aligned with the challenges of the city, the mission of the city, because there is a mission of the city and a mission of the living lab, and the expectations of the stakeholders. And then once we have achieved this alignment, you should start building capacity. You should create value proposition for everyone. So they should feel that I want to be there. I am receiving
Joseph?
value. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. So we'll have to close the session now. If you can wrap up in maybe 5 minutes or so.
Yeah, we will be on time. Yeah. Having this capacity creation, then you should also attract funds and investments to facilitate the roll-up of the companies. So this could be a kind of 7 steps. So prioritize the quick wins. If you have clear winners, prioritize them, invest in them. Define the geography and the context. So you should map the capacity of your ecosystem, and this will help you in identifying the quick winners. You should identify the beta players, as Maria said. Then, once you have the mapping of the ecosystem, you should find the facilitators who can facilitate you in doing what we want to do in achieving this vision. Then, secured the infrastructure, the basic infrastructure to start, and the tools that you will need. Once you have this, in which you have the facilitator, the leader, the infrastructure, you have the mapping, you use the quick wins to attract funds and investment. This will start to roll out the living lab, then showcase what you do to society. Everyone should be aware of what you are doing because they should be part of it. And finally, keep a continuous redefinition of this value proposition. What you do, check that is always aligned with expectations on needs of the partners. Example in Thessaloniki, we started 2010 with our first project having our large research infrastructure, which created an agreement with the regional authority about traffic lights. Then, after 2 years later, we had an agreement with the taxi association in the framework of the first cooperative service in Greece. We gave to the taxi drivers a connection to the traffic lights, so they saw the time to change of the traffic light. Then we started populating with more projects, hardware, software, members, and data sets. So we were growing the Living Lab in all the dimensions. And then we end up going to policy. So once we had all these elements, we went to policy with decision support tools. We support the city in creating the sustainable urban mobility plan. So we end up on the last step of the living lab. What is policy is accepting what we do. So how to manage the mobility ecosystem? Identify the stakeholders of the quadruple helix and understand the needs to reach a common vision and the tools available. Define the role of every one of them in the living lab. This will give you the capabilities of the living lab. Create a value proposition for each one of them so they will stay with you, they will collaborate. And as Maria said, when needed, apply conflict resolution. You should have a common acceptance and understanding by all the members. Maria, very fast about this, and then we are ending.
Yes. So we have created based on the null mapping canvas. We have adjusted this canvas to mobility living labs. So there are 4 phases, as I said before, based on the open innovation community process. So next slide. I will go fast on this because we have already talked about this. So in the first phase, you have to find your context, what is your mission and scope, what are the mobility living lab objectives, and to have a first overview of your strategy. You have to map the strengths and the opportunities related to urban mobility in your area, and also to find the weaknesses and challenges related to urban mobility. So to make, let's say, a first SWOT. In the second phase, you have to map the roles of the stakeholders, to identify the stakeholders, and to find what each stakeholder will do in the living lab. What are the needs and expectations of these stakeholders? What is the value proposition for them? And to create a governance model in order everyone to know what to do. The third phase is about the action plan, and not about just the action plan, but also to find the resources, the financial and human resources, in order to ensure the sustainability of your mobility living lab, and also to find political support, technological support, in order to ensure the technological, environmental, social, political viability. And the last phase is about monitoring and evaluation the different activities of your living lab. And of course, last but not least, the communication strategy and the appropriate channels to communicate your objectives to the ecosystem.
Okay, so that was it. I don't know if there is any question by anyone. We still have a couple of minutes.
We have also 2 last Mentimeters, maybe in parallel. We
Okay,
can
let's
do the
last
answer
2
them.
questions. Yeah.
It's at what stage are you? If you are working with separate project implementation, or you are in the process of creating a living lab, or you're already operating a living lab.
Can you share the screen, Maria?
Yes, sorry.
In the meantime, if you want to put any question on the chat, or you want to raise your hand, we will take questions. So I see that most of you are on the separate project implementation. So you have been provided with the steps for how to go from this different project implementation to a living lab creation and then a living lab operation. So we hope these slides, this material is interesting for you. Next
And
last
I think
question,
is,
Maria.
yes. Do you find useful the adaptation of the Living Lab canvas to Mobility Living Lab, aligning to the Open Innovation Community methodology? Is this last slide that I presented to you?
This is a good added value. This is what we did. We took the Living Lab canvas, and we merged it with the Open Innovation Community's methodology and provided the mobility background. So you can use this adapted canvas for mobility to do internal workshops and define all what Maria presented. So this will facilitate you into going into the creation of the Living Lab. And we are happy that you see this usability. Okay, if there is no question, you can put it on the chat if you want. If it's easier for you, you can raise your hand and I think I can open the micro so you can talk. Please let me know. If you cannot raise your hand, just put me something on the chat. Okay, I don't know if we want to have any closing remarks by GIZ or by Deloitte. If not, I would close here the webinar.
Thanks, Joseph. Thanks, Maria. So, thank you both of you for sharing your expertise on the session. And also, I would like to thank all the participants who have come for joining this session. I think it was wonderful to have all of you over here. And I would like to thank all of you on behalf of GIZ and Living Lab. So, yeah, I think we can close the session.
Thanks a lot to everyone, and we are having 2 more webinars from our side, from Enol and CERTH, in the next weeks. So we expect you to be there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.